Welcome to the show. Today I'm joined by Scott Ballard. He helps business leaders exchange their fear for the truth about their mission in their work. Scott, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Looking forward to it.
Me as well. We had a fantastic initial conversation and it was really interesting. Like many conversations I've had, it kind of started at like the ground level and then we kind of expanded things a little bit. And then like by the end of our conversation, like we were talking about like heart and soul type stuff. And I absolutely loved it. And my thought was for our podcast today, I was wondering, how deep into that heart and soul part of our conversation are we going to get? And my thought is, honestly, I'd like to make that the core of our conversation today. And maybe we'll start off with this first sentence of, I think you said this to me, the greatest untapped mission field right now is the marketplace. And looking at it that way, I guess, what are some of the first thoughts that you have there?
Yeah. The first thought is just really, it's elementary, but I think we run by it. The first thought is we spend 40, 50 to 50% of our life working. And so there's opportunity there, there's time there, there's whatever, but we're not thinking about it in the way as a person of faith as an opportunity. We're looking at it as an obstacle or a barrier, and it's actually not. It's actually the greatest opportunity in the world today because after I go to church on Sunday, most people don't go to my church, but I'm going to see them at work on Monday. Everybody goes to work on Monday, everybody. And so that gives me an opportunity to actually live out my faith, actually impact people, to actually bring goodness and kindness and love and reconciliation into that situation. But I have to see it for an opportunity, not an obstacle. And that's where we get stuck, because we get stuck in these routines and these paradigms and these mindsets that are limiting beliefs. And as a person of faith, I should not have a limiting belief. I should have an unlimiting belief of what God's called me and to do and to be on mission. And you know what? Those people that I work with, or the people that work for me, or the people that are my customers or vendors, they're all there as opportunities to love and to serve and to support and whatever God calls me to do. But if I don't see it as that, then it stops. Monday morning at 7 a.m. I'm like, okay, take that off, put this on. And it's really kind of crazy because Sunday is the day of preparation. But if my faith doesn't work on Monday morning, is my faith really real? Now, I don't want to get theologically deep here and freak out everybody, but you have to ask that question. I'm an old guy. I've been a man of faith for my whole life. So like I get, but we have to cross that chasm into the marketplace. And I do believe it's the greatest mission field in the world. I've been to 63 countries. Everywhere people go to work every day. Like universally, everybody goes to work. Now you can't say that about church or about all the other things in life, but everybody goes to work. Since the beginning of known history, people have gone to work to find meaning and mission and whatever. So I look at that as an opportunity to partner with God, to see what He wants to do in the greatest mission field in the world. So
Ooh,
you
baby,
got me
Scott.
wound up. So like,
I know, and I'm
it's
really
early on the
excited
West
about it.
Coast.
Oh, Scott. So, one of the first things I thought of, right, is that, showing up to work Monday morning, right? And there you are. And I think of like a biblical example, right? If I was a fisherman, just showed up to work and here I go, I'm about to go fishing. Where did Jesus find Peter and Andrew, the brothers, right? They were out fishing. They were doing their jobs, right? And then all of a sudden, who rolls up? And it makes me think like, if the greatest among them was finding people at work, why can't we do that also? And I think I understand so much, and I personally know that sometimes I'm really challenged to show up with my faith in the workplace because there's certain things that are kind of touchy to talk about with people. Often politics and religion, those can often be really challenging spots for people to open up dialogue. Now, for better or for worse, people seem to be a lot more open to talking about politics all over the place. And I think it's a great opportunity to say, you know what, let's maybe kind of take that old adage down, and like maybe religion can find its way there as well. And as a man of faith, I know it's really difficult to navigate the unchurched landscape often that we find ourselves in. There's a lot of sensitivity and a lot of previous wounding that people are bringing with them, and unexpected aggression. Unfortunately, sometimes when it comes to Christianity, and I'm kind of curious for those that are like, oh man, in that space of lack, or in that space of maybe they don't feel like their faith is as strong to be able to have hard conversations like that. How can people show up better in their Christian faith in the workplace, and navigate that kind of challenging climate that we find ourselves in?
That's a great question, Andrew. It's really simple. It's so simple we run past it. It's all over the Bible. It's everywhere, right? So a couple of things, and if I go too long, just stop me because I have a lot of thoughts about this, just a
Yeah.
lot of reps. So number one, it should show up as love, and love isn't beating somebody over the head. Love is loving them, serving them, supporting them, whatever. So we can actually do a better job of presenting our faith in a really wonderful way by just loving the people that we work with or work for us or whatever. So here's a great prayer. God, as you're going to work or as you show up at the office, God, how can I show love to my coworkers, my customers, my vendors, whoever today? What does that look like from me to them so they feel love? Now, right there, if you just practice that and you just said, that's what I'm going to do, and you never spoke a word about your faith, your religion, or whatever, but you just loved people like Jesus loved people unconditionally, we would have immediate revival globally. Because what everybody is seeking, and we know this because you see it, they're seeking it everywhere else, is to be loved, right? Everybody has that need, that desire, that whatever. So it's that simple. But here's the thing: we're not actually taught that. We're not actually challenged to do that. We're not actually thinking about work as a way where we can express our greatest love. Now, when we think about other things in our life, we think about our families, our communities, our kids, all these other areas. Oh, yeah, 100%. But I'm spending 40 to 50% of my work life, those 40 or 50 years, with these people. And I'm actually saying, how can I demonstrate the love of God to them? But see, the reason we don't do it is because I'm mad at my boss and my coworker annoys me, and that customer, I could just wring their neck. So right there, I've lost all the opportunity that God gave me by giving me this job and blessing me with this opportunity. I've lost all of it because my thinking has not aligned with the heart of God. And I'm not even thinking it's an opportunity, Andrew. That's the crazy thing about it. I can't wait till Wednesday night's prayer meeting or Thursday's youth group or the mission trip I'm going to go on next summer to Haiti. I'm not even thinking of that as the mission, but it is. And it's the mission for most of us that is by far the greatest opportunity and the least trained on, the least challenged by, the least thought about. When was the last time we went to church and said, let's all spend this time just praying for opportunities to love and be kind and show up at work tomorrow morning? I've been going to church since before I was born. I've never been to that service. I've been to a lot of different churches. Like that's never on the radar. You know why? Because we're afraid to do what Jesus did. Love people unconditionally. He walked into the work. He everywhere he went was the workplace. But we don't actually model that. And I'm not trying to offend people. I'm just saying, think about it. Step back and go, if my faith only works on Sunday and Wednesday night and when I'm with my family and never works on Monday morning, how real is my faith? What does that say to the world? What do I really believe? It's easy to believe when everybody with me is like on the same page and believe it. Like there's nothing to that. This is a big leap. So I may be too strong. We can edit this out if it's too much, Andrew.
I don't think we will, Scott. Lay it on us.
Okay. So I mean that's my shorter answer. I mean, I can talk about this a lot,
Yeah.
but I think it's a place to start. The place to start is on Sunday, God, what does it look like to show up as your representative Monday through Friday for 40 hours? What does that look like? And I'll guarantee it's not beating people over the head with the Bible, preaching to people, calling people out for their sin or whatever. It's not that, right? It's this idea of the mindset and belief that love overcomes everything. That love penetrates the most difficult situation person. It's the answer to everything in that business, that company, period.
So I want to add a thought is, your challenge for people was to be in prayer and pray for chances to love others. And I feel like, that's literally the two greatest commandments we have, right? Love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul, right? Which what do you do when you do that? You're in prayer. You're thinking of him. You're thinking of his will. And then you look at the other side of that, love thy neighbor as thyself. That second greatest commandment, which is literally what you're praying for, right? You're saying, God, help me love my neighbor. God, help me show up and be kind and be loving. And I think you absolutely nailed it. If everyone showed up that way and with that mindset, it would change everything. And I look at the workplace, and there's certain places that are, like example, there's a Christian business, right? So a Christian business founded by a Christian business owner, it's a lot easier to show up in that way at work. However, a more kind of secular or kind of just open business model, it's a little bit more difficult to show up that way. So when we're showing up with love, though, like you said, we're not beating people over the head with religion. We're not saying, you have to do things this way. You're being kind, you're being thoughtful, you're thinking of them, you're showing love to them, you're empathizing. So as we're trying to show up better and be more loving, I love that you said to start with prayer, because I think when we are thinking of these things and we're in a sense writing these things on our heart, they start to come forward more often. And so for those that are maybe not thinking about helping others or going in with that mindset of loving others, how can people get into that routine of regularly praying about that? Is that something they should do, like, tie it into a habit they're doing in their morning, right? Pray over your morning coffee, or like how do you make sure that, I guess, in your life, how do you make sure that you're showing up that way on a daily basis?
There's 5 questions. We've already distilled this. We have groups doing this. So here's 5 questions to ask God about your work or your business on a daily basis, right? 5 very simple questions. And number 1 is, how can I be the greatest service to you in my business or at work today? So I'm asking God, how can I serve God? Because ultimately, he's the one I want to serve. I have his job, but there's a higher calling. So I ask God that. I listen and I note what he says, or the feeling or the thought that I get, right? Then second, based on my current situation, if I'm an owner of a business or working in a business, I'm thinking about doing this, meaning I'm thinking about doing my work this way, or I have an idea or a decision, or I've got a personnel decision or whatever. This is the plan I'm thinking, God. Help me feel peace about it or not, whether or not I should do that, right? So these questions are mainly for business owners, entrepreneurs, because that's mainly who I work with. So peace represents that God is with you and you're heading the right direction. Number three is now this is the big one. What is the number one fear holding you back right now? When you think about you going to work or being in your work or doing your job, what's the fear right now about that? And then once you get that fear, you distill that. What's the real truth about that fear? Because the truth will set us free. God said, if you will acknowledge me and ask me, I will tell you. But we only inquire of ourselves, which you see with David, all these people in the Bible. When they only inquired of themselves, it went crazy bad. When they inquired of God, everything worked out. What's the real truth, right? And then number four, who do you want me to talk to today? So, God, if I have a company, I have 48 employees, is there somebody today that I need to go talk to? Now, that could mean, how is your wife doing? That could mean, how are you doing at work here? That could mean, is there something else? God will tell you what that is, and then go do it. And then number five, what have you already inspired me to do? So we all know this one. This is the hardest one, because God has told us over and over, you need to do this at work or in your company or with your employees, that I still haven't done. God, what is the thing you gave me 6 months ago, January, when I was praying about my yearly goals, and I still haven't done it? And Lord, give me the courage today to do that. That may be going in, and I know this is probably against a lot of laws, but that may be going in and giving the guy that runs your manufacturing, giving him a hug and saying, you know what, take this day off and go be with your kids. I'm not talking, like, it may be buying another company. I had this happen to somebody. They did this and they ended up buying their two competitors. Never was on their mind until God spoke to them. They put it off for a long time, and within 6 months, they bought two of their competitors. But this is how we bring the Sunday God into the Monday reality of the real world. Everybody in my church, this is really going to rile people. Everybody in my church, pretty much everybody is already saved. They already know God. They already know Jesus. They're already right. But everybody at my company or my work, most of them aren't.
Yep.
Here's the opportunity, Andrew. I can't save somebody that's already saved. Like, I can't lead them to they're already saved. But I spend all my time, all my emphasis, all my prayer, all my whatever on them, with them, for them. And I'm not against gathering, like, we need all that. But the harvest is right there. And we just go by it. I'll add one thing to this. If you do these 5 prayers every day before you go to work or before you go to your business or whatever, it will not only change your thought about that opportunity, but there'll be a peace and a caring and an understanding, and empathy is the word used, a kindness that will come out of you about all those people. You will see them differently. And, we all don't like to change, but God is calling us to change, to be more like him and his son every day in every way. And so those are the 5 questions to ask God daily, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a CEO, as a manager, as an employee.
Can you
And
list those
so,
5 out again?
yeah. Number 1, how can I be of great service to you today in my work or business? I can send these to you, Andrew, but based on my current understanding, I'm going to move forward with this plan, this decision, this strategy, whatever. Lord, help me to feel peace about that. right? And what's my best next step? And then number 3 is, what is the number one fear holding me back right now at work? And most of the time, this is what's crazy. 99% of the time, it's a person. I have some fear about somebody, and we know fear. What does it say in the Bible? 165 times. Do not be afraid. But we bring fear into work, and once fear takes over, there is no God, there's no love, there's no peace, there's no harmony, there's no joy, there's nothing. It's gone. The enemy is stolen. And what's really true about my fear? The truth is, whatever God speaks to you. Number 4, who do you want me to talk to today? One person. God, who do you want me to talk to? And then number 5, what have you already inspired me to do I still haven't done? Which we all have a list of those. I have a list of those. I did 2 of them yesterday. I just kept asking God, give me courage to do this. I mean, I reached out to 2 people that are world-changing people about this whole idea. Like these people are massively influenced. Have I heard back from either one? No, but I did. God told me to do this months ago. I did what he said to do.
I love that. And so we look at these questions and these prayers, and I love that each of them kind of burrows a little bit deeper. And I love that you've included in there, Lord, like, give me the peace, like, give me the strength, give me the courage. Because I feel like often that is the piece that's lacking, right? It's not that God doesn't have anything, it's that we're missing stuff and we need assistance. And or we need that nudge again. We need that reminder. And I wonder if you could maybe share a story. You said you've been sharing these 5 prayers with other business owners. Can you maybe tell us a story of someone who's been applying these 5 prayers and maybe something that has changed in their life or their business because of it?
Yeah. So I tell you, what was a really negative situation. I've been working with this guy. He owns a company, very big company, worth a couple of $1 billion. And they had been embroiled in a lawsuit for going on 7 years with their biggest competitor. And it was really ugly. All kinds of problems, and it became almost like it didn't become it become personal between him and the other person. And they had all these attorneys, like 30 attorneys working on this, and so it was coming to the end where he was pretty sure that they were not gonna win. They were gonna lose a ton of money. Like they were gonna lose the lawsuit, and it was going to really dramatically impact the company. Just catastrophic, very, very catastrophic. So I'm in his office, and he has all these screens, and all these attorneys from all over the country are on these screens. A really odd thing. It was like, whoa. And he goes, well, this is the end. Like it's not going to happen. Like we are going to lose this, and they're all sure we're going to lose this. And it was supposed to be like the next day was whatever. And he said, well, what do you think? And I said, well, it doesn't really matter what I think, but I know the person that it does matter what they think. That God, like I'm nobody special, but I know he knows what to think about this. And I said, would it be possible to turn the screens off and let's just ask God about this? So he's doing the clicker thing, and all these people, who knows how much money was being billed out at one time. It was just off the chart. So I said, well, let's get down on our knees and let's just ask God, what do you think of, what do you know about this? And what are we supposed to know about this, from that standpoint? And so we pray and we just ask God, okay, God, is there some way is there a chance for reconciliation? And God, would that be what you would want to do here? So we do this prayer. He's deeply moved by it. I'm deeply moved, but we don't really hear anything in the moment. Okay. So he clicks all the screens back on and they're fighting it, every whatever. And I slowly just leave the room. And I know the next day it's going to be like finalized. So the next morning I get a text like at 5:15 in the morning from him. He goes, "Can you come to my office right now?" And I'm like, "Well, I just woke up. Like, I mean, I'm an early riser, but like it's an hour drive to get there." And he said, "No, you need to come." He said, "You're not going to believe what's happened." And I'm like, "Well, okay. I mean, I'll get there. It's going to be an hour and a half, whatever." So I change my schedule in the morning. I go there and I'm expecting to pick him up off the floor and realize you just lost more money than most people will never see in their life, like whatever. And I walk in and he's got this huge smile on his face. And he goes, "Read this." And he hands me this document. And I start to read it. I'm not an attorney. I don't know legal language. I'm like, okay, what is this? And he goes, "Well, I got this morning from the owner of the other company saying that he is withdrawing from the lawsuit. He's that he wants to walk away. He doesn't want to do this anymore, that it's over." And he goes, "I don't know if it's a ploy, or I've had my attorneys look at it and they go, you can't sign that because you're going to, you can't sue him." You know how attorneys just keep suing each other. And he goes, "So I just called you." It's like, what do I do? And I go, "Well, oh, wait a second. What did we do yesterday? We asked God if there's a way that this could be settled or reconciled so both parties could win or walk away and not be damaged." And he did it. And he just broke down. He's just like, he goes, "I know you keep telling me that God is real." And, like he's a baby believer. And he's just like, "But this is just too much to even believe." And so long story short, they reconciled, settled, let go all the attorneys, which they were the only people mad in the whole
Yeah,
thing.
right.
and and that's a dramatic story, but like that's the most, from literally losing a company worth billions of dollars to literally being reconciled and it being done, and the two of them basically shaking hands and saying, "Okay, this is enough. We're not going to do this to each other anymore," in a 24-hour period, because we inquired of God, not of attorneys, not of man. When we inquire of ourselves, it always ends bad. When we inquire of God, it always ends well. But we don't inquire of God for most things, particularly in business, particularly in our work, particularly in these areas, which is just shocking. But we have to bring out the truth. The truth is, we don't do this. I was speaking at a Christian leaders thing a couple of months ago, and I didn't say anything all day. And then I was the last person to speak. And I just felt so compelled, Andrew. I said, "This is all great. We're talking about church and we're talking about developing leaders and we're talking about all these programs. We're going to reach all these people and we're going to go to all these countries and do all this evangelism." And I said, "But we're missing the greatest opportunity, and that's on Monday morning." And the room just went silent. Like, most of them are in ministry. They're like, "What are you talking about? It's about Sunday in the church." And I was like, "No, because all those people, except for you, few that this is your employment, they're going to work on Monday. And that is the greatest mission field. But we're not equipping them. And if my faith doesn't work on Monday, what is really my faith?" And been a lot of feedback about that. And I think it really makes people uncomfortable. And that's where I know I'm on the right place, because Jesus made people like that very uncomfortable.
I think that's a great point. Is that idea is so easy for us to stick to what is comfortable. And usually what is comfortable is relatively vanilla. We're not going to upset the apple cart. We're not going to say anything that could be considered offensive. And in many ways, Christianity, it's okay that it's offensive to some people. Some people may need to be offended in order to actually understand it, in order to actually, start to grasp what's at stake, what's going on here. And I love that idea of almost following some of that discomfort, right? Like maybe letting discomfort in the workplace be your guide. Um, and looking at it that way, right? Because if I'm noticing that discomfort, especially if I'm in prayer about it, and if I'm asking for peace, and if I'm asking for guidance, and if I'm asking for direction, in so many ways, what really is at stake, right? And people get worried about their job, or they get worried about their career, or having a reference, or losing a customer. And like at the end of the day, like, ooh, ouch, yeah, some of that stuff can hurt. um but if we zoom out a little bit, right, and if we get just out of this day to day, out of this year to year, right, our lives are a very short span on a much larger continuum. And at the end of the day, losing a customer pales in comparison to winning someone for Christ, and pales in comparison to being able to do God's God's will here on earth. So, man, I'm absolutely loving this conversation. So, there's a really powerful story that you just shared of someone literally applying these things, going in prayer and experiencing some of that change and experiencing the power God has over our lives. I'm curious for those that for those that still have that fear, or that feel like their faith isn't strong enough. Do you have anything else that may be able to, and I'm going to add this, either build them up or break them down enough so that they can have that stronger faith when they wake up on Monday?
Yeah, I will give you a saying that has helped so many people with that exact question. And here's the saying. It's not directly out of the Bible, but I think it is very sound and aligns with all scripture. And that is, everything you want, what you really want, is on the other side of your fear. Fear, we're only to fear God, right? But we fear people more than we fear God. And so you have to exchange that fear for faith. And so the challenge is being honest about, and we call it truth telling. So we do these dinners with business people called truth telling. And what is your greatest fear right now? And we have these men and women get up in front of all their peers and talk about their greatest fear, and then ask God, whether they even know God, it still works because God's still speaking. He cares about that person. What is the truth about that fear? And when you replace that and insert that with the truth, immediately you have the faith to do what you need to do at work on Monday. You immediately, but until you confess and tell the truth about that fear, you're forever locked up.
I
And we've
think, yeah,
never told the truth. We've never told the truth that our work is the greatest mission field in the world. We've never told that truth, but Jesus demonstrated it his whole life. His whole ministry was in the marketplace, right? But we're not actually following that. I only want to do my faith with people that already believe what I believe and that like me and want to hang out with me. And then on Monday, I become this chameleon, this different person because I have left my faith on Sunday. And here's the thing. Here's why I work with entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs, people, whatever, because if they change their way about this, it 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 goes through the whole organization. So when I put people on this 90-day challenge, 5 business questions to ask God daily, what happens is it just doesn't affect them. it affects their whole organization, their whole business. It affects everything. So the way to multiply, the way to really have impact is to challenge business owners to do these 5 questions every day. And by doing them, then they become this leader that God gave them that company so they could lead people, their customers, their employees, their vendors, all these people. But they've never been given a simple tool and a way to actually live that out every day. I challenge anybody to do this for 90 days. Every day they go to work, every day they go to their company, and not have God do something profound beyond what they could ever hope and imagine. It's never not happened.
I love
This is my
that.
challenge to anybody listening. I'll be glad to talk to you. I'll coach you. I'll train you. I'll walk with you. It, it will. I have no doubt. Nobody's not gotten that far and been like, wow. And it's probably not what you think, because God knows and sees and has all wisdom. It's like the lady that bought 2 of her competitors. She never thought she was going to do that until she started asking God, and boom.
I love that. So for those listening, I'm going to put those 5 points, those 5 prayers. I'll put those in the show notes. And now you've got a challenge. You've got a 90-day challenge for those that want to take that up. I would recommend printing those out, writing them down, putting them places where you can see them. For me personally, I'm going to put them on my desk. I'm going to write them down on a piece of paper, attach them to one next to one of my screens. And like, I want that to be the start of my work day, even if it's 30 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever it is, right? Just to be in prayer about those things, see where I'm at. That's kind of I'm going to make that my morning check-in. And Scott, I love that you've been able to share in this way. And I think it's so powerful talking about work as the most important and untapped marketplace or mission field that we have. And looking at, timing for the show, we're heading towards the end of our time here as far as the recording. So how can people get into your world, Scott? If they're like, man, I want Scott to help me. Like I need some guidance. I need a mentor. I need a little bit more here. How can people find you, Scott?
Yeah, I'm at confidencecoach.org. That's my website. You can click there, get a time to talk to me. Um, and, we'll, note that you want to talk particularly, just so we use the time well, about the 5 business questions to ask God daily. Like, we can do that. I can help you to do that. I can give you some real tips and points of how that works, and then walk with you as that happens. And I've been doing this 15 years, and I haven't really had to work a day in 15 years because I get to do this. So the burden is not on me to produce something or to know something or to have answers for people as their coach. I just help them connect with God, and God has all of that. So there's no pressure or stress on me. It's just helping people understand that God wants you to do well in your business. He wants to help you solve your problems. He wants your company to be a shining light, not a disaster, not a negative place, not a place of problems, but a place of light and love and all of these things. And it can happen, but we have to take the faith that we have on Sunday and apply it. It has to work on Monday in order for us to start to believe that actually this is what the biggest part of what God made me to do for him is this work or this business or this company that I have.
So
Wow.
powerful. I love
Yeah.
it. Scott,
Yeah.
if you were to give us maybe one final insight, one last story, one thing maybe to energize us as people are thinking about these 5 prayers, what would you want to share?
Yeah. This is a real stretch for people. I'm still constantly working on this. The realization that God is always speaking to us, and the realization that I need to ask God to help me to hear his voice. That may be in a picture, it may be in a dream, it may be in a thought, it may be in scripture, it may be whatever. But if we believe he's always speaking and we're not hearing anything, the second thing is, God, help me to hear your voice, right? And then the third thing is, if I'm still not hearing, who do I need to forgive so that now I can hear God? Because the only thing that interrupts God's voice is if I have unforgiveness in my life. And that's the key. Because if we hear from God, it's all good. It's all going to be amazing. I mean, right? So that's what we want to do as leaders, as business owners, as CEOs, as entrepreneurs, is we want God to direct and guide what we do in our companies. And if he does, all those people, once again, the marketplace is the greatest mission field in the world that nobody's actually targeting, thinking about going to. And it's where Jesus began everything and did his whole ministry. Very interesting. How much have we really progressed? I don't know. I mean, that's for everybody to answer. I just think it's the opportunity of our generation.
I love that. Scott, thank you so much for coming on the show.
All right. Thank you, Andrew.